Hey Men and Warriors, it's Kate and welcome to my channel where I share a weekly video with you every Monday related to menopause. Today we are going to be delving into the fascinating tapestry of societal and cultural norms around, or beliefs or myths or stigmas around the menopause. Today we are actually going to be looking into some of those stigmas, how they affect various cultures, how the fact that we're much more open about menopause is having a positive impact on not only our lives but those further afield who may not have a collective voice just yet, and just trying to sort of discover, share how various cultures have grappled with the whole stigma surrounding menopause. Remember, if you find this helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes. And without further ado, I shall dive in. The menopause really was a hushed topic, shrouded in secrecy and women's problems. And it's only over the recent years that we've actually become much more open about it, and we're having a lot more discussions around it. That is due in part to female empowerment, to the women's movement, and the fact that, I mean, we represent a good 50% of the population. A lot of us are, if we're lucky, have got more important roles at work, if we're allowed to be, by the patriarchy. And I've got nothing against men, but we still live in a society which is patriarchal. And when a woman doing the same job as a man gets paid less, well, that just sucks. It's pathetic. And we need to be looked after better. We don't need to be mollycoddled, but we do need an equal voice. And for us here in the Western world who have a voice, who can talk openly about vaginas and things like that, I think it's really important that we do, because there are so many women who are not yet allowed that voice. And with the preponderance of social media, hopefully some of what we share might trickle through and might just help those communities who really are still shrouded in stigma and who really have nowhere to turn to. It might still be shrouded in secrecy in their family. There may be myths passed down from the generations of what happens through the menopause. They might think they're going mad and they're not. We all know that it happens. We get so many of the same symptoms. So by us having a collective voice and speaking openly about menopause and the stigma and the problems and the symptoms and the way we are well looked after and the way we're poorly treated, eventually leads to policy change. And if it can lead to policy change here, well, hopefully that has a ripple effect to further societies where they don't have a voice yet. There's been a real sort of taboo surrounding menopause. The fact that society still favors youth. Youth's beautiful. We all, if we're lucky enough, get through youth into middle age. And I know so many women who are highly talented. They are highly skilled. And can they get a decent job or a well-paid job? No, they really struggle. And it's sickening, actually. It's a poor testament to how society still is. The fact that there is this glass ceiling because we're women. Women's physical and emotional symptoms of the menopause have been downplayed for far too long. Oh, she's having a hot flush. Oh, she's this. Oh, she's that. Oh, she's got tummy ache. Oh, she's lost her mind. She's just lost her mind. Thank goodness for social media. Thank goodness for more of us talking out about it, because we're not losing our minds. It is frustrating when we get treated like that, and it's incredibly condescending as well. And I'm sure a lot of you have felt that way at times. But the fact of the matter is, menopause is a very real thing. The fact of the matter is, we can do a lot to improve our journey through the menopause. But the fact of the matter remains also that a lot of women, despite leading a healthy lifestyle and taking full responsibility for their health and their wellness, still need additional support. We also know that things like antidepressants do not work to alleviate low mood or depression caused by menopause. I did a Menopause Monday a little while back on suicide risk, or the increased suicide risk. So maybe go, in fact, if I can link that to this at the end, I will do. Menopause is a very real thing. I take a very positive look at it. I think I'm lucky enough to have got this far to have the menopause. A lot of my family, unfortunately, have not reached this age, and that is an absolute tragedy in and of itself. But the more we can all be talking out about it, and the more we can be sharing our stories and supporting each other, hopefully those ripples will spread out to those communities that do not have that voice yet. I think governments are now realizing that by addressing menopause, because they can't have to, they are improving society, or helping alleviate pressures on society that benefit everyone by a greater understanding, an awareness, and an openness around menopause. It also has a positive impact on men. The fact that there is more information out there, even if you find it hard to speak to your significant other, if you're in a heterosexual relationship, it must be fairly tough for men, because I think we all sort of tend to think, oh, well, we all think everybody else is psychic and that they know what we're feeling and they know what we're going through. And in actual fact, they don't. You know, it's hard enough for us actually sometimes to actually understand what's going on. You know, it is very discombobulating as we go through the menopause. You know, one moment you might be happy and yay, celebratory, and then the next, suddenly this dark rage engulfs you. And that's how it is. It's a roller coaster of emotions. And I promise you, as you go through the menopause and get beyond into postmenopause, that does seem to settle itself down. But you imagine living with somebody who is going through that. Not only are they going to be wondering, have they caused it? Are they responsible for any of it? Because the symptoms that can be associated with the menopause can be so severe and so contradictory and mercurial, when we don't even understand what's going on inside of us, how on earth can the opposite sex have the remotest idea of what's going on? So I always recommend open conversation, but at least, you know, I keep going back to the fact that we are open nowadays, that the women's empowerment movement has made it so much easier for us all to talk about it more openly. But remember that if you have, you may have sons, talk to them about it too, because they will become more rounded and more understanding men, and husbands, fathers. It's so important that we keep this conversation going, not just to benefit us, but to benefit the wider society and to help men and boys understand what it is that is going on with us, to help institutions, to help governments, to help workplaces understand that this is not just, ew, she's not feeling very well. It really is serious stuff. There's still a lot of cultures that emphasize secrecy and dignity, and the fact that, you know, women's things have to happen in private. By us talking about the menopause, we are enabling that conversation to break down those stigmas. When you go into the service stations, and often you see on the inside of the toilet wall, there is a donate, or text this number to donate sufficient for a girl in maybe Uganda to have her sanitary products paid for. And I bet a lot of us are so used to seeing that. And I wonder how many of you or us have texted that number to donate money. I mean, I think the problem with something donating like that is you're never sure the money's actually going to the girls that you need it to get to. That's half the problem, because there's so much corruption around the charity thing. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but you know, imagine just for girls in those cultures that don't know how to manage. They don't have easy access to sanitation. They don't have easy access to sanitary products. And then for them to finally get to the stage where they no longer have those periods, but then they feel like they're losing their mind and they're burdened with all the symptoms that we have, it must be really hard for them. It must be really, really hard. On top of that, cultural practices play a significant role in shaping women's experiences of the menopause. In some cultures, it's still considered taboo. They're meant to keep it private, and they may not receive accurate information about what's going on mentally and physically. They may not have access to healthcare in order to support them either. And then in other cultures, there is that coming together of women, and they are supporting each other emotionally and societally and physically, even when they may not have access to the healthcare that they want. I think it's safe to say that health practices really are changing their narrative. I think, certainly over here in the UK and in a lot of instances in the US as well, we are really, I suppose, not, we probably should be demanding that each practice has a menopause specialist in it. I think each practice should have a nutritionist. I think each practice should have a complementary therapist. I mean, I think there are so many things that our healthcare providers should be offering as normal, rather than just going to get pills for this, that, or the other. I know I'm simplifying it a lot, but I think our healthcare practices should have specialists for these sorts of things. Menopause is a big job. The evolving social and cultural perspectives around menopause is testament to the power of open dialogue and education. As women debunk myths and share stories and become more empowered, we are definitely opening the dialogue for further discovery. And in a lot of cases, cultural spaces are opening up to support women and provide education for women going through the menopause. And where inequalities still exist, where the rights of women unfortunately are still suppressed, where women do not have a voice, then open discussion, open dialogue can only serve to have a ripple effect, positive ripple effect back through to them, to promote change to start at grassroots level through education, to support open conversation based on equality of rights to education and healthcare for women. In open societies, this positive trajectory promises a future where menopause is no longer met with silence, rather with open discussion. And globally, our voices need to be heard in order to support those who are still suppressed, to embrace, or give them the opportunity at least, to embrace this very natural phase of life with dignity and confidence. And while significant progress has been made in dismantling the taboos around menopause, there is still so much work that we can do. I think sustaining this change is really going to require ongoing governmental policy changes, education for girls and boys, and in the younger years at school, so that we can engage and educate genders on all levels throughout society, so that menopause is no longer treated as a stigma. It's no longer treated as this weird thing that women go through, that it enables menopausal women to be embraced and to be valued as the very valuable part of society that we are. I think there's still a way to go. We still live in a very patriarchal society. I think it is getting better, and as more of us talk out and more of us no longer have to burn our bras, thank goodness, but perhaps we should still do that occasionally, because it still beggars belief that like I said earlier, women and men can do the same job and they get paid differently. It sucks. It's just wrong. So by breaking the silence and by having these conversations and having them openly, using social media platforms to spread information, to support each other, to hopefully have that ripple effect out to those cultures where they are not getting the support that they need just yet. To continue to challenge the misconceptions around menopause and women's health in general. It just enables us to pave the way for healthier and happier and more confident generations of women to come. So I hope you found this helpful. It was a little bit different. I think it's really important to understand that there are so many different understandings of menopause, and that women are treated still in so many different ways, and some of them appallingly. And the more that we can talk openly and share our stories, the more I really hope those ripples spread out to those communities where they are still being suppressed. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you so that you don't miss future episodes, and make sure to drop me a message if you would like me to cover anything in particular in a future episode. I'd be more than happy to do that. Thank you for your company, and I look forward to hanging out together again with you soon.